Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Brenda Denninger from BIOPAC, and I will be your moderator on today's webinar. We are introducing a new wearable brain-computer interface with augmented reality and artificial intelligence. This is an emerging technology. It's novel, and we are very excited to tell you about it today. Before we get started, I have some housekeeping, as I always do. Please submit your questions and comments through the GoToWebinar control panel. That's how you communicate with me, and I'll pass as many questions as I can when appropriate. When the webcam's turned on, if it looks small to you, you can grab this little gray bar right here to resize it. Also, I want to give everyone a heads up that the frame rate in the webinar tool when we play video, which we will be doing today, it's much slower than the real video, and so it'll look a little bit jerky, but let me just assure you that the video looks very smooth and lifelike, and we'll share it after the webinar so you can see it yourself at the normal pace. And then finally, today's webinar is recorded. We'll send out a link soon, and we have a survey at the end of the webinar. Please give us your feedback and ideas. Now, on to our presenters. We have a fabulous panel of experts today. We have Matteo Piedra. He's the Senior Director of Product at Cognixion. He has over 10 years of experience in the med tech industry, and he previously worked at Johnson & Johnson. He's passionate about harnessing the transformative and patient-empowering capabilities of technology and healthcare. Welcome, Matteo.
Thank you, Brenda. To be able to share a bit more about what we've been working on today, and excited for the next hour.
Great. We also have Michael Bertian. He's the Software Development Manager at Cognixion, where he leads engineering to create software applications for people with speech and motor impairments. He specializes in leading teams through complex technological challenges. Welcome, Michael.
Hello. Thanks, Brenda.
These guys are in Toronto, just so you know, if you caught that earlier. And then, of course, we have Fraser Finlay. He's the CEO of BIOPAC. He has over 25 years of experience in the life sciences and physiology monitoring industry. He's a well-regarded expert who presents at workshops all over the world. Welcome, Fraser. All right, I'm going to make you presenter, Fraser. Let's start with you. Here we go. Yep, you're muted.
Thank you, Brenda.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Brenda, for the introduction. Welcome, everyone, to this webinar on the Cognixion Axon-R immersive headset. Before we begin, a little background information about BIOPAC. BIOPAC develops high-quality scientific tools that allow you to measure physiology anytime, anywhere, from any subject. We've been in business for over 30 years, and 99% of the top 100 universities use BIOPAC products. And many of the world's largest corporations use our products for research and development and for product validation studies. And all those users have helped to generate over 51,000 citations as of January 2024. And now onto the most relevant part of the webinar. I'm delighted to introduce Cognixion and the new Axon-R immersive headset. Cognixion is a fellow Santa Barbara company and a new partnership we're very excited about. The Axon-R is the research version of Cognixion's Cognixion One clinical headset and is the combination of several years of intense development by the Cognixion team. So congratulations to them for creating this amazing cutting-edge tool that you're going to learn about today. As you'll see in today's presentation, Cognixion has designed a first-in-class brain-computer interface headset that utilizes state-of-the-art technology to provide researchers with a new class of instrumentation for neurophysiology. The headset measures brain signals, provides impedance checking, and includes the development environment to deliver rich, immersive stimuli. with a real-time, steady-state, visually evoked potential classifier to enhance interpretation and improve the participants' ability to control and communicate with their environment. This headset moves the bar for onboard power and performance. This is a brain-computer interface for control that opens research pathways for a wide range of application areas, including biomedical engineering, ergonomics, cognitive processing, communication disorders, neurofeedback, systems engineering, and of course, brain-computer interface and human-computer interface applications, to name a few. Some of these areas will be addressed during the presentation, and a great demonstration will be presented by Matteo and Mike. The signals from the headset are fully integrated with BIOPAC's Acknowledge software to provide researchers with access to the data for further analysis. The data is streamed to Acknowledge using Acknowledge's new lab streaming layer integration and allows customers to combine BIOPAC devices, such as the Bionomatics wireless amplifier, with the data stream from the Axon-R headset. With that said, I'm going to hand back to Brenda for our first poll of the day before Matteo and Mike show off this amazing new headset. So Brenda, back to you.
All right, thanks, Fraser. I'll go ahead and launch this poll, and we just want to understand, what your experience is with brain-computer interfaces, augmented and virtual reality. So go ahead and answer that poll, and then for those of you who joined a few minutes late, I'll just remind you that you can ask questions of us throughout the webinar. We'll get to as many as we can. We also often send a Q&A document with answers to any questions that we couldn't answer live, or sometimes it's just nice to have that as a reference. And also, I want to remind you that when we play a video later, the frame rate of the video in the webinar tool is a little bit jerky, and it just won't look as smooth, but we'll post that video on our website after the fact so you can go back and look at it again. All right, let's take a look at these results here. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and I'm going to share it so you all can see it. So 17% brain-computer interface, lots more people with augmented and VR, and some people with both. And then we've got 15% of people who don't have any experience. So this is a great opportunity for you all to learn about this tool and how you can incorporate this into your research. So I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and now we are going to switch gears to Matteo and Mike. Here we go, Matteo.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. I'm just making sure.
Everything looks good. Yep.
Everything's clear and ready to go?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So first off, thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Fraser, for those introductions. I think Fraser did a great job of already explaining and showcasing some of the elements of our product that we're super excited to share with you today. Just a bit of a brief background here that I think really helps set the stage for how we came about to developing Axon-R. So here at Cognixion, we've really been focused on this intersect between BCI, AR, and AI, and kind of melding this and putting it together. And it really has manifested itself in the development of our clinical product, focused on really creating something that we've dubbed assisted reality. But as part of that exercise, right, and getting to that point of being able to take those three intersects of AR, BCI, and AI, we as a company had to go through quite a bit of trials and tribulations and tons of research to help create and build the development of that. And much of what you're going to see today at Axon-R comes from those real world lived pain points that we had as we were looking to create a device that was able to really suit all of those needs. First and foremost, really from the prototyping side. So right here on that right image there, you can see quite a bit of different hacked up solutions. Something that's really not uncommon in this space of seeing different modalities, different mechanisms of how people have started to really kind of try and create these integrations. And what ended up happening for us personally, and as we talked to other researchers too, and saw that quite a bit of time was spent on just trying to get things put together, finding those right pieces, always kind of tinkering and finding that you were always missing a gap. And we realized that that was just causing so much time and really added cost in terms of this development cycle as we were looking to really explore and push this new frontier. The other thing, if you've experienced much of the world today, and there's a lot of VR applications, there's been a lot of growth recently in that space, but for us in particular, we found nothing in the AR space. And especially as we're looking to really create what we dub more immersive experiences, more integration of technology in the real world, we found the VR modality to be super isolating. And for specific use cases, it has incredibly high value. But as we're really looking to push this emphasis and kind of this trifecta together, there was nothing out there that was really developed on the AR front. Mike can really attest to this, but complexity on the system side and kind of those integration points, lots of time spent tinkering, lots of time creating different software to talk to the other element, you're talking firmware, it's a whole mixed bag. And again, we were spending tons and tons of time just putting things together rather than really pushing the boundaries and doing the research that would allow us to develop what was our medical product and really these new innovations as we push forward. Another area that was super important for us, but very difficult to find, was just having safe, clinical compatible equipment, so medical grade hardware, especially as we were working with patient populations, with different people with disabilities. But additionally, we found that as we were looking to generate publications, making sure that the components we were using were tried and tested, that they had previous publications. A lot of the tools we worked with in the past were either bespoke or new creations with really limited support behind the components that were being used, which made it challenging then to really push that and get a publication through. And then the last thing, that this is more kind of a holistic piece for any of you who are in the space, who are doing research actively, I'm sure well aware of this, but just general space constraints. You can kind of see a back image of our Toronto lab here. There's a lot going on, there's a lot of hardware, and if you go to these lab settings, in many cases, you'll have your dedicated room. It becomes very difficult for people to, book time, get things done. And what we realized very quickly was that we wanted to create something that was truly portable in terms of how we did our research, and truly portable so that users could use it from, a lab setting to the table inside conference we're in today, and we'll be showcasing, to walking downstairs to a cafe. So all of those really came together as we kind of developed and lived this real world kind of challenges and pain points, and really came and fabricated in the form of what the solution we're presenting today, which is our Axon-R headset. And we saw that there was a tremendous amount of potential as we started talking to more researchers, more people interested in the space, that while we were very focused on one element of this, there were so many other applications that could be used that people could really push the boundaries on. And we wanted to be able to provide individuals with those tools to be able to really accomplish those goals and move research forward. So a couple of things I want to highlight here, and I'll do a little show and tell as well. First and foremost, on the left-hand side, starting there, is our BCI AR headset. I'll be showing that a little bit more. That's really kind of the main body in our GUI here. And as we move further right here in the center, it's our neural hub, which is really our off-body compute. I'll talk a bit more on how we made that decision and how we got to that. Moving to the next section over there is our expanded access point for additional channels, giving you full modularity and flexibility. Again, came about with more conversation with researchers as we were developing this technology. And then the last one, which we'll be showing a real life example as well later, which is BCI Studio, our software stack, meant to really enable and give access from all ranges, from very little expertise in terms of code development to really empowering super users and power users with a full SDK and support. So a couple of things here, and Mike, I'm just going to give it a look here. So let's see, is that okay? Perfect. So what you're seeing here is actually our headset. So a couple of things I want to call out as I walk through this. We offer two lens types. So one that we've done the indoor lens, which is a clearer lens here. It's a little bit harder to see just because of the glare on here, but very easy to see indoors, as well as then a removable lens, which is our outdoor lens, which is tinted. So think of it kind of as sunglasses. I actually prefer using this one indoors. I find it better. The other thing that we wanted to make sure of, and if you're familiar with the Apple Vision Pro that recently launched, if you have prescription glasses, if you require some aid of eyewear, for something like an Apple Vision Pro or some of the other products out there, you would have to buy a separate lens for prescriptions. The nice thing about our unit right here is you can actually fit glasses on no problem while wearing this. So you don't have to go and get another specific prescription lens. This is really important also if we're doing research and we're recruiting a bunch of different subjects. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to purchase multiple sets of lenses for everyone to meet their needs. So something that we wanted to make sure was really important there. A couple other things to talk about here. So in terms of design elements, so part of the reason of going through these tribulations, right, with a diverse and more challenging population set in terms of kind of conditions, muscle weakness, things like that. And if you have any familiarity today with, standard VR devices and others, they tend to be very heavy, and weight distribution is a big issue as well. So it becomes very cumbersome to wear for long periods of time. And one area we wanted to make sure was that the device was light and able to be worn for a diverse set of use cases and users. The other element too, if you think of some of these more rigid designs and structures, we really went in with the research section of having a really comfortable, and you can kind of get the kind of adjustable straps with then a bendable piece on the rear assembly to ensure that it would really accommodate all different form factors, different shapes, different areas, and really positions as well. So lying down, sitting up, standing, whatever that may be, so you can get that right adjustability and really hone in then the signal quality is something that we really prioritize as part of that comfort and patient comfort development. So in the rear, you'll see actually our rear assembly. So I'll kind of do a little back turn there with our 6 gold electrodes that will be placed on the occipital region of the head, which are taking our measurements. We're shipped with these gold finger electrodes that are kind of tried and true in terms of publications. We're also shipping with a set of cup electrodes to really give flexibility in terms of what type of user would like, in terms of performance, comfort, all those good things. And then so that's really kind of a high level view. We'll talk a bit more around the headset and see it in practice. But again, removable lens, removable foam as well, so that you can get a comfort piece, get some cleanliness in there. Easy to take apart, easy to clean in between. And we wanted to ensure really, as we're doing with that adjustability, but also ease of setup. So we lived a lot of long, cumbersome setups with traditional head caps. We wanted this to be something that you could easily just put on and be ready to go. So along the lines of also part of these learnings, right, and weight distribution, one area that we actually moved towards to really help give us more power in terms of use, as well as then flexibility in terms of expanded channel access, and then comfort in terms of weight, was the development of our off-body neural hub, which you'll see right here. So it's a pretty light system. You can set it on a desk, so it's got a couple of flat areas there. If you're looking to use this in a mobile setting, we've got a couple straps here. I tend to use it kind of like a crossbody as well. You can, of course, remove this. And the benefit, what we really wanted to ensure here, is that we could have one holistic solution, one platform that when connected together, you can walk around, do whatever you want, take this without having to be tethered to a PC. It was something that we really wanted to drive home, because so many of those applications and use cases of research that are isolated today in lab settings, we wanted to unlock that with actual mobility, with full compute that is untethered to a laboratory PC. As we were going through the development cycle, the other area that we really looked to drive home was providing expanded channel access. So as we talked to different people, different researchers, having the EEG component was amazing. There's a tons of different things, but people were looking to see, how else can I connect and take other measurements? Can I get an EMG there as well? And as we talked to more and more people, we realized that having, a locked-in position for some of these sensors, actually limited the applications of how we could do and expand our research. And that's what really led to the formation of our dendrite cable. So an 8-pin connector, bipolar cable, allowing you to take different measurements, really expand access to how you kind of combine these two mechanisms of research. The other thing that I think is incredibly important to mention as well is the fact that if you were to use just the dendrite cable with the neural hub, you could just do general purpose research as well without the need of the headset. So we wanted to provide a device that was still equally portable, that didn't require only the use of the headset, to give a laboratory full expansion opportunities to use really specific great research on this AR front, which we think is amazing, and the applications are endless, and then really giving it also versatility in terms of a device that can be used also for general purpose use with the expanded axon or dendrite cable. And then the last thing, like I mentioned before, Mike will be talking a little bit more on the software side for BCI Studio, but we wanted to prioritize, especially as we're engaging with different settings and different opportunities with people who may not have a really strong, backing of language of something like C# and deep Unity development skill set. So how we can get people up and running, really doing this really great research across the board in a way that's really user-friendly. We've built a lot of time and spent a lot of time on BCI Studio, and then providing a lot of supporting applications, sample applications there as well. And one of the things that we're incredibly committed to is continuing to add to that as we talk to more people, as we see where some of these areas are going, is keeping that library fresh to make it easy for people to get up and running and do an experiment. So based on that poll, I actually think it's probably good to go over some of this, and I apologize for those of you who are big experts in this space, but I think it's a good way to level set and ground just in a high level, and we'll talk about this more with some real examples and kind of distill this down of how the system is really functioning. So if you're looking at that diagram today and you look at that one section there, that's really your lens point right here. So effectively what the system is doing, it's creating a visual stimuli that would be presented to the user on the AR lens, so they'd still be able to see out, and you'll see a real world example of this. As that user interacts with that visual stimuli, those biosignals are being measured and registered via the rear electrodes that are in the back on the occipital area of the head, and then being sent down to number 3 really, which is our off-body compute for further processing, and then being brought to the device of the headset for what is final classification and making selections. And on top of that, we're adding additional wireless kind of integration capabilities throughout LSL to really enable a diverse set of data collection as well as actions in areas. So just a quick high-level teaser here. As I said, we'll go into this and break it down a little bit more detail, but in most simple forms, right, it's an integrated closed system here that allows you to really create measurements and do this on this continuous cycle wherever you go with just these 2 main components. And the last thing to highlight here would be, and if you look down there in that 2A section, you can assume that's the dendrite cable coming in. So if you added in some additional stuff, that information would get plugged back into the dendrite cable would also get tagged into the neural hub, and then effectively allow you to then collect that information and process it together. Okay, so a couple of things to highlight here, and I've mentioned some of these, but I just really want to talk through some of the sources of value that we believe that we've been able to really generate and focus on through this process of multiple years of iterating on this device and our own self-learning. So as I mentioned before, we are the only purpose AR built device with a SSVEP classifier built in. One of the things we wanted to really highlight was that untethered full system that allows you to take it into any of these environments, right, from the lab to the cafe. Providing a multimodal input systems with our EEG cables, right, that comes on the headset, and then that expansion point with the 8-DIN EXG accessory for diverse placement across the board. Medical grade components, as I mentioned before, making sure that we have the right standards in place, make it easy to get through an IRB, especially if you're doing some clinical or working with patients. Taking into account the design element and comforts, having and being able to use this with diverse sets of individuals that have different conditions and needs, different positional needs, making sure that that device is fully accommodating of those conditions from everyone in that sense. Building in lab grade signal quality. So this was something that was super important for us as we were going through this process. A lot of the things that we saw and tested didn't meet the standards that we felt were sufficient to be able to do adequate research. And didn't have enough testing in there to really back that. So that's something that, giving a shout out here to our engineering team in Toronto, spent quite a bit of time getting to really, really high quality there in terms of our signal strength. So very proud of that there. The other piece too around just creating an integration point of LSL, allowing us to stream over Wi-Fi, building in all those 16 channels if it's coming from the EEG headset as well as the dendrite cable itself. Sampling over 2K hertz per second. And then on the software stack, as I mentioned before, that we'll be showcasing a bit more, building up that BCI Studio, getting you to that point of rapid development, getting you up and running in an experiment in a very, very short time. And then on the last part is then the continuous support. So as Fraser mentioned, fully functional effect knowledge, along with Python, Unity as well, and we're looking to add a couple other things as well as we move forward. So a lot of value packed in a little package. You know, we're very excited to kind of use this, and we'll be able to show a bit more in terms of the examples here. But I think, Brenda, at this point, we're going to do maybe a poll.
Okay, before we do the poll, I just want to let everybody know that you can resize your screen so you can see the video. Can you, if you want, I don't know if you're going to be showing it again later, but just wanted to remind everybody about that. And now I'll go ahead and launch the poll. And now we're interested in what your research area is. So go ahead and start answering that question. And then, oh, it looks like we have a question here from Joyce. Are there clinical studies in progress currently, Matteo?
So yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Joyce. So a couple of things, right? So the product itself is fairly novel. We've done quite a bit of research on our own in terms of what we've been working through, but right now in terms of clinical studies, not yet. We have 2 partners right now that have been using alpha units, one of which you'll actually be seeing a real example of from the University of Waterloo. We also have a partner at the Brain Institute at Brown that's also using the device as well. We have quite a bit of institutions that have started doing pre-sales for the device that have some pretty defined use cases that are looking to do clinical applications and research. And we're very excited to see what else people are able to drive. So at this point, not yet, but hopefully very soon we'll have some publications out with the device.
Well, that's just an opportunity for everyone on this call to think about how they can do some citations and get using the device and doing their own research. Okay, let me share the results of this poll real quick just so you guys can see them. Lots of human-computer interface, kind of spread across the board, but heavy on neuroscience and human-computer interaction. All right, well, thank you again. Back to you, Matteo.
Perfect. Thanks, Brenda. It's great for the human-computer interaction folk. You'll be very happy today because that's really where we'll be able to showcase our partners at Waterloo and what they've been working on. So a couple of things I want to highlight here. So for those of you who are familiar with the space, SSVEPs have been around for quite some time, traditionally being used, for more of a monitor setup, and then VR has started to get a bit of growth as well. But we've really been seeing this tremendous growth right now in the AR combination with SSVEPs across a multitude of different areas. So human-computer interaction obviously being a great one there, but also spreading around there in terms of just education and wellness and a bunch of different interesting clinical applications that we'll talk a bit more about. And then some of the more interesting kind of unique ones we've heard and discussed with individuals around safety and prevention and kind of how that can intersect and interact with EEG data, and then entertainment and personalization. So I think the one thing to call out here is this space is growing. I think we're at a tremendous opportunity to really push this into the stratosphere in terms of new applications, novel development. In many ways, I think the Apple Vision Pro has helped really invigorate this even further. This data is from a publication in terms of up to 2022 here, but we would imagine this is going to continue to grow, and being able to offer a solution like that, I think, is going to continue to turbocharge this. So while the novelness is in the device and its singular factor and its true contained ability to be computed and used in an area, this research has already existed and is going to continue to grow, and more people are going to keep expanding on these applications. Okay, so moving into the fun part, which is the demo itself. And today we really wanted to showcase some of the great work that a partner of ours at the Neural Rehabilitation Engineering Lab at Waterloo has been working on. And they've been really looking to push the boundaries of mobility using a brain-computer interface. So this is really how do you start navigating around the world using a powered wheelchair to be able to move around without having potential full functionality of your hands, different mechanisms, using purely your brain to steer a wheelchair. And this has been done in partnership with a grant from the ALS Association. So I'm going to just show this video here, and we'll break this down a little bit. And I apologize, let me see if I can get this to be a little less laggy, just because the refresh rate is a little. Okay, that's a little better. So yes, this is happening in real time. It might look a little choppy. We'll have the video there as well. So what you're seeing is the actual view of that individual. So you just watched someone drive a wheelchair, and this is one of the grad students there with purely their brain, which is pretty awesome in itself. So I'm going to break that down a little bit just so we can kind of see how that was performing. And this really falls into what I'd say kind of your human-machine interaction using their technology. But in essence, if you think back to that very simple graphic we had before, an image, right, and a visual stimuli is being created, which were those 4 flashing elements you saw there, which effectively had 4 controller inputs, up, down, left, and right. Oops. That stimuli began flashing, right? And as the user began and fixated on that, we were taking that information and effectively taking that through and classifying it to generate an action. So one thing that I'd get you to focus on, if you look at that top up section there, where that blue ring is happening. So think of this as a way of the user's focusing on that particular stimuli, that one that's up. As that focus is happening, right, that data is being processed and classified, and that hover state occurs when eventually you get a full selection of the device, which is that really bright blue, and the wheelchair continues to move forward. And if you remember in the video, that user then made a selection to the left. Same kind of thing happened in phenomena, right? We're doing the classification, we're getting the blue hover in that case, and we're making a left turn, which is driving the wheelchair. So as that selection happens, you can think of it as the same way as a button. That signal is being sent to control the wheelchair. So you can really think through and see there's a ton of applications in this one specific use case of human-machine kind of interaction of how you can create different diverse structures, different stimuli, different elements on how to make selections and how you engage with your environment. And today what we really wanted to showcase was actually building up that interface with one of our sample applications of BCI Studio and giving a full demo. So I'm gonna let Mike talk a little bit more on the software stack we have, and then we'll go walk you through a real world example that we filmed the other day here in Toronto, just so you can see how that same interface could be developed and how a wheelchair could be remotely controlled using our device.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Mateo. Yeah, so BCI Studio, you can think of this as our development environments for the Axon-R headset and all of the hardware. So from a very high level, you can think of the headset as running a HTTP server, and it can be configured wirelessly through an API request. So you might do things like set up 4 stimuli, like in the example that we just saw, and you can specify the location. And this is all done through API, standard RESTful API configurations. So this really enables us to really build any application to control the Axon-R headset, whether you're using a PC or a Mac or an Android app, an iOS app. Really, whatever you're comfortable with developing, you can configure the Axon-R headsets. With that said, we spent a lot of time making sure that this is very accessible and easy to use, regardless of your skill level, with different programming languages. So out of the box, we provide a lot of sample code, a lot of documentation, a lot of different tools where even if you have no programming experience, you can get up and running with this in relatively quick timing. But we've also opened up our environments to those that are really they have a lot of experience in writing applications and developing code. So what we did is we developed a Axon SDK, we called it, where you can really build any custom applications outside of the simple setup that maybe you saw in the previous experiments. So you can do custom stimuli or really anything you can think of. The world's your oyster. You can develop it in Unity and AR, and we help you display that on our Axon-R headset. So we also have a lab streaming integration with BCI Studio. The lab streaming layer is actually how you can listen for data coming off of the headset, and then you can develop your own classifiers or process the data in any way you wish. There's also integrations with Acknowledge, like Fraser mentioned earlier, or really any other LSL enabled tool that you can find. It's usually pretty standard for devices like this, so there's a lot of support and tools available for integrating. One of our sample apps, we have a impedance check sample app, which is developed in Python. We provide this kind of full open source. You can dive into the code if you want, or you can use it out of the box and run your impedance checks. The impedance check is really useful when setting up your experiment to make sure that you have good signal quality, all the electrodes are making good contact. And we have a demo of that coming up right after this as well to kind of show you what that looks like and how it works. So yeah, maybe we go on to the demo unless there's anything else you want to add, Matteo?
No, I think we can cover quite a bit in the demo video. So again, apologize to everyone. We'll be posting the video up online so that you can see it in full quality, but I'm going to try and see if I can get it to work a little better in this setup here. Perfect. So first off, before we get into the full software piece, we want to take you through the full journey of what it's like to get up and running and setting up a device, and show you really how quick and easy it is to really structure it out. So there I am, same room as we are right now on Monday. What you're seeing me do is really put on the headset, so no lens on at this moment, creating good adjustment points. You want to make sure that it's snug and feels nice and tight. So you can see from this back view, really one of the tricks we use, and we provide tailored tape with part of our welcome kit as well, but finding the Indian and then doing kind of the 2-finger up move there and just finding that right positioning, really important. You want to make sure, again, that depending on the electrode you're using, you have great contact points there and make sure it's nice and snug. So something important to keep in mind, but in terms of setting up, you're not measuring a full, grail cap, you're not doing the full, the whole tape up piece, everything that comes in there. It's a pretty simple application process, similar to what you do with a VR headset. The other thing that we have here, and you'll see Mike is using some new prep, something we recommend and also include in the welcome kit, just to get rid of oils and skin. And what he's doing is right around my mastoid is just cleaning up that area. And if you look at that kind of little dangly bits there, we have 2 disposable gel electrodes that we use, hydrogel electrodes, to really kind of as our grounded reference for the device. So main electrodes go up there. Mike's creating some new prep and some cleanup there, just getting the skin prepped up for that before applying the 2 hydrogel electrodes. So just give him a second there as he's setting it up. So pretty simple, easy. Throw those out after use and get another set in between research candidates. Okay, so you can just kind of see what it looks like applied. The other thing to keep in mind, just obviously I don't have any hair, so as you're doing this part of the process, if there's a lot of hair, you want to make sure you're just moving things around, making sure you have those good contact points. We are using gel for the system. The gel in particular, using that Spectra 360, we've gone through quite a bit of testing on different types of gel, which we think is the cleanest, easy to use, best conductivity. We definitely recommend the Spectra here, but for those users who may have a lot of hair, we also provide some blunt tip syringes just to get in there in those nook and crannies. We find that you get the best performance this way. Don't need a lot of gel, but you just want to create that good point of contact between the gel and the skin, and just make sure that everything is nice in there and set up. And the great thing about having a built-in impedance check is that you can go there and really make sure that everything's great, fine-tune things. We have plenty of users, obviously, that have hair in the office, who we regularly test on, but just for demonstration purposes, a lot easier to use my head. The other thing to call out, so you'll see me there kind of fumbling around with the neural hub. So I'm pressing the power button there. You have at least 4 hours of continuous use from the neural hub. So quite a bit of runtime there between charges. And I've already connected the 2 cables that are coming from the headset, the UG one as well as a data cable that's coming through. So Mike will tell you a little bit more here around the actual impedance check and some of the software to get you up and running.
Yeah, so now that Matteo's headset is all set up, the electrodes are on, gel's on, what we like to do first before starting our experiment is run our impedance check. So what you see here on the window to the top left of my screen is our impedance sample app, which I mentioned earlier. We provide all the source code for, but you can also use it out of the box, exactly like you see. So what I did there is I just pressed the check all button which sent a message to the Axon-R headset, and it started streaming data back to my computer, doing some processing, and then we came up with our impedance values, as you can see here. So looks like on our first run in this case, we actually got really good values right around 10K, which is excellent. And I think, we're happy with that to start our experiment. I also want to draw your attention to the bottom right of the screen. That is just a screen recording from the headset that is actually happening internally. It's not what Matteo is seeing in this case, because the way that our lens works, we actually use a stereoscopic image. So there's two images projected on each side of the lens. And when you look at it, you actually see that those join together and you see one image in front of you. So just wanted to explain that little piece as well. Right, so we got our impedance. Everything seems to be set up properly. What we like to do next is just run a raw data stream and visualize the signal that we're getting, just to make sure that everything's good and see what it looks like. You can also use this process to get a baseline if you want to get a baseline for your experiment. So we're using a data visualization tool. You can use a tool such as Acknowledge to do the same thing here. And yeah, we're just getting a live stream of EEG data coming over LSL, the lab streaming layer.
All right, we're having a bit of
Awesome.
okay. Just got some.
So what Matteo is doing here, if you look on the right, he's clenching his jaw, and you can see the big spikes in data here. So we're getting some EMG artifacts as well. So really just testing that the system is being responsive, and we're seeing our signals coming in quickly. Matteo's also just closed his eyes, so now you can see the signals sort of getting a little bit quieter and kind of evening out a little bit. So just some tests to run just to visualize that data piece.
Yep.
Cool. So everything looks good. Headsets on, data streaming, impedance is awesome. Let's run our first experiment. So what I just did there is I hit the configure BCI studio button, which sent a request to the Axon-R headset, which actually spawned the 4 stimuli up, down, left, and right. And you can see that in the bottom right of the screen.
So the one thing to call out there too, so that kind of square there was just an example of one of the sample apps we provide, just a basic 4-quadrant controller, similar to what you saw in that example, right? Up, down, left, right for the wheelchair control. The nice thing about this is, and it's effectively the same interface that's being used for the wheelchair control, is that you can get up and running really quickly with a lot of these sample applications, but we also allow for additional customization. So Mike, you can kind of explain what you're doing here.
So the customization just happens through JSON editing. So you can specify things like the stimuli size, its location, the label underneath. And just through, adjusting some simple parameters, like I just did there, changing the size from 4 to 8 units, you can see how the up and down stimuli are now double in size. And I just relaunched that back on Matteo's headset, and he will see that the change reflected in his view immediately.
So the nice thing too here, and again, we're just showing a pretty excessive example, right? Like let's say I wanted to get more functionality in that wheelchair example with a larger up and down, but you can easily add more stimuli, configure the location of the stimuli in a really easy way that doesn't require you to go through a bunch of deep coding and going into C# to be able to create these type of kind of basic interface setups. So that's something that we, like as I mentioned before, we're constantly adding new sample applications there. We're incredibly receptive from our user base in terms of how we start developing these, what things we prioritize and build up. And what we want to ensure is that we provide a great seamless experience for those people that don't want to spend a ton of time building something completely bespoke and custom, but creating this in a easy environment to make edits. So I'm going to jump back here. So a couple of things we want to touch base on. So just kind of reiterating what we've covered today. So the device itself, easy to on and off, showed you an experiment running with just setting up the headset, how quickly it is to do, it really does not take a long time to get up and running. You know, it's a matter of minutes. Just doing some fine-tune adjustments. We heard a question before around the hair component. Yes, you can definitely use this with hair. You do not need to shave individual. Just using it right now on me because it's easier for visual purposes, which is very convenient for us. The other thing too, just what Mike was able to walk us through on BCI Studio and those sample labs is just getting up and running quickly. Just seeing that poll actually helps kind of give some context as well for those who have maybe limited coding experience, to not make it a daunting task, to make it feel like you need to get into some high degree and go take a boot camp to be able to use a device like this. I think is a really big benefit for those looking to get up and running and do this type of work without having to spend all that time and gain that expertise. But a couple areas we wanted to talk a bit more about. So just a couple other use cases just to get people's brains and creative juices going. So these are things we've heard as we've been talking to different industry partners, seeing things out in the wild. Some of them are obviously lived on our own as we've been focusing on some of these developments, but we already talked about, you know, human-computer interaction. There's a ton you can do here with interfaces, limb control, environmental control, machinery, you name it, tons and tons of opportunity here, but maybe some things that are kind of less focused on and I think are equally as interesting, if not as compelling. So really around the medical and clinical space on diagnostics and rehabilitation. So just an example here around, you know, stroke rehab, I think is an incredible opportunity here of combining with kind of AR guided tasks, creating those points of interactions and taking those measurements there. And there's a ton of other applications we could also look at in terms of other neural conditions, really expanding kind of the clinical research space. Education and training may not be as intuitive first, but think of this as really connecting the two with EEG and creating adaptive learning and having things tweak and change based off of the user state, being able to leverage the AR display to kind of create those situations. And then really in terms of language and other areas. Wellness and mental health. You know, typically we hear things like meditation and things like that, but one of the ones we saw that was really interesting that people were really pushing the boundary was around areas such as like brain games, like if you think of kind of a Lumosity, which is a you know, standard there of combining, you know, some real science on with the data that we're collecting with some brain game to really help kind of drive that and see what you can get from a research standpoint in terms of you know, mental growth and learning through that. A couple more fringe ones, and just again going real quick here because we're a little bit short on time, but safety and prevention, some really interesting ones. So if you think of a hazard environment or one where your hands are free and you're building something, being able to wear an AR headset, so you're still able to do your work, but then have different areas of detection such as fatigue, you know, points of danger, and being able to register those to really help reduce safety in some of these environments where, especially hands-free, where it may be difficult to be able to do all these things because you're just juggling so many things at once. Entertainment and personalization. So you hear quite a bit of this in terms of people doing games, different ways to kind of adapt and you know, change the experience for the user, but also an area of interest too around personalization. So mood, things like that, where you can really tailor an experience and environment and be able to engage with your space with this AR type of device. And then the last one, which I don't want to undersell because I think it's tremendous opportunities here as well, and just neuroscience and cognitive research, just general purpose neuroscience research. And especially if you think of this device without the headset, being able to also do that as a standalone with the accessory cable. So tons of opportunity here, tons of flexibility with this device. So it's not just focused only on the AR, giving those multiple expansion points to really give you a full solution for your lab. Okay, so now to the exciting part. So we are shipping officially starting June 2024. We have started doing pre-sales. Your BioPAC representatives will be able to give you much more information in terms of exclusive early offers that we're doing. Just to give you a backing in terms of the 3 offerings we're doing as part of our initial launch. We have our standard package, which includes the headset, of course, and the Nucleus hub, and an indoor lens, so that lighter clear lens. Access to BCI Studio, as well as all of our, you know, AR templates, sample applications, all those things to get you up and running. So if you're really interested in getting started, you want to focus on the AR component, it's a great option for you. If you're looking for what I'd say a full expanded device with the most access and opportunity, it would be the advanced package. includes all of those elements of the standard, but it also adds in that tinted outdoor lens, which I actually really do like. I think it's a better experience personally for me. And then the bipolar cable, so that's that dendrite cable that gives you those 8 additional channels to do effectively research in any other area. It also then allows you to use the device as kind of its all-purpose, kind of in coordination with the headset or standalone. So we think that's really the best package here for most users. Highest degree of flexibility, highest degree of access, customization, really gives you a tool to use across a multitude of areas and grow with your research. And then the last one, which is our elite package, which just adds on our extended warranty. So it gives you that extra coverage and safety in mind that you will be protected in case anything happens with the device on an extended basis. So that's it. So just pre-sales are open and then shipping in June 2024. And Brenda, I'll hand it off to you for the last bits.
Well, congratulations, guys, and thank you so much for all of that. I just sent everyone a link to the BIOPAC webpage, which hosts this more information, and you can fill out a form. You can also just do a quick QR code scan or link on this. We'll send this slide out after. Let's see, I have a couple other things that I want to share with you. One moment here. Okay, now I'm not sure if you guys have heard about our 4T training conference that we've done. We've held 3 of them so far. It's every other year. It's a human physiology training event using BIOPAC equipment and partners like Cognixion. The 2025 dates have just been released, literally last week. We'll be hosting this event again in July of 2025. It will be at UC Santa Barbara again here in California, and we'd love to have you join us. It's just a great opportunity to get some hands-on experience with BIOPAC devices, including today's device, the Axon-R. And I'm just going to pop up these pictures. This is from our 2023 event, so you can see how the sessions worked and how we had small groups interacting with the equipment in different sessions. It's very hands-on and very informative, so I'm hoping you're going to be able to join us. Now, also, I wanted to tell you that BIOPAC offers workshops at universities and regions all over the world. So if you'd like to host one at your university or attend one in one of your regions, you can just reach out to your BIOPAC representative, and we will talk to you about how to host in your region. And now let me just show you something else that I like to show. So here's that webpage that I just sent out to everyone. And on any page of our website, if you scroll down all the way, you can get to your local representative. We have representatives all over the world who you can interact with. And if you fill out this form, it'll send an email directly to the rep in your area. And also, if you fill out this form, it will do the same thing. So let us know you're interested. Let us know if you'd like to pre-order. We're here for you to talk about it and to help guide you through this process. All right, Q&A. So we did have a couple questions come in, Mateo, and one of them, just to follow up, I got a text from Chris, the CTO, who told me a little bit more about the EEG electrodes. They provide 3 types of EEG sensors: cup, short post, and long post for different hair lengths. So there's that. Another question came in: how many degrees of freedom does the SSVEP base subsystem allow for? And I'll let you take that, Mateo.
Did you repeat that one?
Yep. Okay, hang on. Sorry, my screen just did something weird. Okay. How many degrees of freedom does the SSVEP base system allow for? Is it 4, up, down, left, and right?
We're getting some challenges here. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you. It's not the most perfect audio, but I can hear you.
We're cutting off. I apologize.
Okay. Okay. Well, I believe it's 9 axes, right? Is that right, Fraser? Do you want to pop in here? Somebody's chatting me, so let me see what's happening.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. I'm not sure, Mateo, if you can hear us. I think the question is asking how many targets can you have for the SSVEP? In the example that was provided, it was up, down, left, and right. Is there any limitation?
I think we've kind of crossed paths there. So it's 13 that are available in the field of vision. field of view, and I hope you guys can hear that.
We can sort of hear it. Okay, well, technical problems do happen sometimes. It's the world that we live in. So, all right, let's just move on then. Let's see here. Any plan for a VR-enabled version?
At the moment, no. We're very focused on AR for our primary use case, just because we have really felt that this is the best modality for giving full immersion and expansion. We also think there's quite a bit of VR out there already today, but there is ways to integrate and use our sensors to connect with a VR headset if that's something you desire. But our primary focus right now in the short term is really pushing the boundaries of the AR system.
Okay. All right, another question here from Andrew. Let's see, front-facing camera to allow for adaptive interaction with environments.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that Chris is on the back of the line, but one thing that we're working on very heavily right now is looking at front-facing integration as well as eye tracking as kind of our next gen version. So a little bit more to come there. Obviously, we're doing some R&D on our side, but yes, we do think there's a tremendous opportunity there. We've obviously done some internal proof of concepts as well. So again, a little bit more of a teaser there, kind of V1, but hold on that one. But yes, there's stuff coming.
Okay, I'll just take 2 more questions. So this is from Lewis. The squares and circles were 2D. Can the image be projected 3D?
In terms of the refraction point?
I'm waiting to see if he's going to respond to
Yes,
that question.
I think that's what they're referring to.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit, so you're not going to see it in like a 3-dimensional sort, but you have depth and perception and changes you can do to create different angles, right, in terms of how it looks in the environment. So the one thing to keep in mind, right, on that stimuli you were seeing there that's being showcased here, it's a flat image because of how it's showing up, but when you're wearing an AR display, you're getting different areas and depth that you can set in terms of where it gets placed in your visual view. So with a closer, move further away, things like that, to create a different kind of experience.
Okay, and then how many channels can be added?
So we have a total of 16 available.
Great. So there's additional EEG plus EMG, EOG.
So you've got the headset, right, that's providing right now, and then with the accessory cable, you can add 8 additional channels, which are your choice in terms of how you use those.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you very much, you guys. I know it's a lot of work to put these together, and I really appreciate it. Just want to let everyone know that we have live webinars almost every month. We also have a lot of on-demand webinars, over 100 on our website. Here's just a small sampling of what we offer. A lot of product demos, but also some interesting topics like mindfulness and of course today's topic. So we'd love for you to visit our website at biopac.com webinars to access any of our webinars on demand, including this one, which you can rewatch to see it again. All right, and now let's see. I just want to take a minute to thank everyone again for all of the work that you did putting this together. I know it's a lot, and congratulations again, because you're launching a product and it's a brand new novel technology, and that is very exciting for the research world, and it's a great opportunity for any of the researchers on this call or future researchers watching this on demand. It's a great opportunity for you to like do something different and engage in and experience a scientific breakthrough, if you will. So the world is your oyster. I just want to let everybody know that today's webinar was recorded. We'll email you a link to the recording, the slides, and the Q&A document. When you close the window, you'll see a survey. Please complete that so we have your feedback and ideas. Of course, visit biopac.com for additional references, including screencasts. We'll post the videos from today on the product page as well. But you can find other screencasts for other products and analysis tools, application notes with step-by-step instructions, and of course, information about our upcoming webinars and events. We are geared up for the spring event season, so we'll see you at the conferences around the world. Speakers, anything else before we conclude?
Other than to say thank you very much for attending, everyone, and great job, Matteo and Mike, and you, Brenda, as well. Thank you.
All right, well, thanks again, everyone. This concludes today's webinar. Have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to hearing from you. Goodbye.
Everyone, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.